Greetings and peace. Thank you all for tuning into my YouTube channel. My name is Umi, and in this video I'm going to be discussing alchemy. And I wanted to share this video. And first, let me just say, I know many of you have subscribed or tuned into my channel or have been directed here because of the content on astrology that I've shared. And let me just say, I'm not an astrologer. I'm an astrology enthusiast, and my interest is more so in the human psyche and taking my study of some of these sciences and just applying them in my life and then sharing my insights. So that's, why I've shared much of the information on astrology, is just to show how, intricate it can get in terms of understanding our own nature and behaviors. And interestingly enough, in this subject of alchemy, I'm a Taurus, Capricorn rising, which is Earth. And then I have 3 children. So my oldest is a Leo rising, which is fire. My middle child is Aquarius rising, which is air. And then my youngest is a Scorpio with Scorpio moon, which is water. So I've been studying these elements and behaviors, not just in my children, but just in my interactions with friends and family, which has, inspired me to just share more of my interpretation on this platform. But there are many other things that I study and I'm interested in, and this is why I wanted to talk about alchemy with you all, so that we can elevate above the mundane and just our need to forecast and understand, just some of the mundane, routine things of life. And if you don't have an appreciation or understanding of what alchemy is, then even studying numerology and studying astrology or doing forms of divination can all be in vain, or just, something we do because we're so self-absorbed and we just want to, just kind of find out what's going to benefit us in our relationships and our finances and our, should I buy this car? Should I do that? And we lose sight of the need for the inner work. So this is what alchemy entails. So if you saw the video I did on the number 7, the initiates, I'm speaking solely about the inner man, and how this number, very mystical number in numerology, is associated with the initiate, the mystic, the person who's a spiritual seeker, truth seeker. So in knowing a little bit of insight about this, the inner man, you'll realize that you have your outer man, quite literally could just be the physical body, the vessel, and then you have the inner man. There's this need to go within in order to develop our God-given intuitive gifts and abilities and our insights. This is our communion or communication with the inner God in order to understand and perceive and interact with our reality. This is important when you're studying alchemy, because you will learn to relinquish your need to depend on so-called spiritual tools. So things like tarot and astrology, in particular our horoscopes, fortune telling, working with runes and different forms of divination. The reason they were shunned or condemned by many religious leaders and institutions is because it turned people away from the church, yes, but on a deeper level, it turned people away from the inner man to the external, world, in which case we're trying to navigate our way through this reality. And keep in mind, the third dimensional reality is a construct of our collective consciousness. So if that's the case, if this is something, and I love the movie Inception, if you can think of creating our own dream and we're kind of constructing it as we go, then we shouldn't be focused too much on what's being constructed if it's coming from within us. If it's coming from within our own psyche or own consciousness, we need to be focusing on what's happening in the subconscious and unconscious. Because people haven't developed this ability yet to really see beyond the veil of the physical reality, or even what's happening in the subconscious, what's happening in the unconscious, they're not able to really read into that, then we turn to tools. Let me see what the cards say about this. Let me see what is being presented through this form of divination about my relationship, about my career move, about purchasing this car, about doing this, about doing that. So the need to turn within and to strengthen our intuition is going to help us decipher and interpret what's happening in the unconscious, because the unconscious can deal with even illusions. Sometimes what's presented to you through some tarot reading or through your horoscope cannot match what's actually being experienced, or you unconsciously have created this reading to match how you may be feeling inside and form some type of conclusion that this is what's being told to you by the universe, when in fact this is what you've created from your own unconscious. So the inner alchemy is a very intense work, and it could take years. For early initiates and mystery schools and things like that, you really weren't initiated or considered at a level of spiritual maturity until around the age of 40. So here we are dabbling in so many different divinations and spiritual practices that more or less aren't really a reflection of our inner work, the inner alchemy. So it's something that, as they say, whatever you're teaching most applies to you. So I'm really sharing this because for me, I've done that. I've been down the path where I had a lot of books on the subject of, different spiritual things or occult studies. I've had crystals, I've had cards, I've done these things and formed a dependency on them for a while. So much so that I would even feel frustrated if I couldn't quite interpret, or I wasn't sure what was the best decision to take and how do I move here, how do I navigate this. I didn't even like the fact that I had that dependency on it. So the best thing for me to do when I was in that position, because I have so much 7 in my chart, it didn't feel right for me. Can't speak for everyone else. Do what resonates with you. But for those of you who resonate with what I'm saying, what you may need to do is put it away, put it aside, step back from your dependence on these things so that you can turn your attention inward and you can begin to do the inner work. So what is alchemy? Because I make soap, it's a chemistry to combine the fats with the sodium hydroxide and to add your oils and to scent it and do all these things. It's a bit of a chemistry. But it helped me to really appreciate the time and attention it takes to make a good bar of soap, one that I can use and it's shaped nice and it smells good, and it was a practice, and it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen on my first few batches, my first few attempts. So in looking at this, I said, okay, well, when I'm doing my inner work, there are going to be times where I'm not impressed by what I have contrived, what I have generated in my own consciousness to be my truth. I may not be too impressed by that. I need to do more work. I need to dig deeper. I need to clean out any conditioning, any notions of a belief that really aren't true. They're just based on something I heard or something I read. So in doing that inner alchemy, this is working with your emotional body. This is working with spirit, however you choose to identify the God within you, whether you say spirit or source or Yahweh, or however you choose to interact with the God that is within. It's not just an external deity in the sky. We have an inner presence within us. The kingdom of God is within us. So as you begin to experience that union and that exchange within you of knowledge and wisdom from the God within, then you can begin to release things that don't apply to your spiritual growth, things that are just rigid dogmas or beliefs or misinterpretations or fears or just contaminating thought patterns. You begin to release that, and that allows the spiritual gifts to come to the forefront. That allows you to step into a position of authority on certain things, whatever's in your lane. What does come from me a lot of the times is based on the inner work I've been doing and how I've developed my spiritual insights. And so it has value. It has value in my life because I've seen the transformation. The same way I make that bar of soap and I'm able to bathe with it and it suzzes up and it smells good. Okay. I have proof. I have experience. I have something that is very much a fact in its entirety. I've created something from these chemicals and produced a final product that works. So in doing the inner work or the inner alchemy, I can identify qualities in others and say, okay, you're a water sign. So you are going to be dealing with this or struggling with that, or you need to work on refining this and heightening that, because that's a part of my understanding of that element and my own inner work to do with my emotions. You begin to see what all is a part of that gift that's within you for yourself and then for others as well. But how do we do that inner work? What is the alchemy that is involved in all of this? So in understanding alchemy, again, it's going to be a breakdown of various different things that will help you understand it or interpret it. Elements is just one thing. Knowing that, oh, the earth helps to ground us, and I need to plant my feet in the earth, and I need to ground my ideas, and I need to work with this crystal. Yes, that's a form of inner alchemy. Cleansing your emotions, taking showers, drinking plenty of water, crying, getting out your negative emotions, that's a form of alchemy, because we're transmuting or changing something from one substance to another in a spiritual sense, where you can change or turn or transmute anger and rage into another type of authoritative energy force where people can respect your presence and not fear it. You can change those gross feelings, those past pains and traumas, into another form that is more refreshing to people. This is working with the water element. So you can have this ability to understand and receive and perceive people's emotions as a reflection of what is happening within you. This is working with the water element and becoming mutable. You don't have to necessarily have water all through your natal chart to work with that element and understand people's emotions and human emotions and how volatile they are and how shifting and changing they are. And when someone has a clean aura about them, or a clean energy about them, or a clean state of mind, their thinking processes reflect that cleansed state of being and mind. This is the alchemy that's being done, transmuting something putrid into something pleasant and refreshing. So negative emotions and past traumas and hurts and all of that can be transmuted into something pleasant. It just takes a little bit of work. So if you were, let's take for example, when people are aroused, when someone is sexually aroused and those feelings begin to arise in you, your thoughts can go from anything. Let's say you were thinking about a book and your thoughts can go from that book to lower vibrational thoughts that can turn into more sensual thoughts or erotic thoughts. This is a shift. You don't have to allow your thoughts to sink to necessarily something that deals with eroticism and just dirty thoughts, as they say. You can actually elevate, using that aroused and sexual energy, you can elevate those thoughts to what you want to manifest. Because what we create through our sexual energy, not just conceiving a child, but we can create a lot with our sexual energy. These are things that are not necessarily talked about or shared, or they have gotten lost in translation and a lot of new age rhetoric. But when you begin to understand inner work and inner alchemy, you can elevate your thoughts. And if you were somebody who has been addicted to sex or addicted to pornography, or your thoughts are always in this realm of lower vibrational thoughts and eroticism, you can shift that. You can use that ability that's generated through the energies within you, whether it's earth or fire. If you're a fire sign, this again, working with the elements. How do I change the anger and the aggression into something more forceful and useful? These are people who need to work out instead of being angry or fighting or taking that energy out on someone else. They're actually doing a form of alchemy or transmutation, changing that anger and putting it or utilizing that anger, that energy associated with anger, for something more productive. I'm going to work out. So in our day-to-day routine, seeing beyond the mundane and how you can seize opportunities to do inner alchemy or inner work. This is going to allow you to not be so easily ruffled by others, or so easily, like your internal experiences will be yours. It won't be at the disposal and manipulation of others. But if you don't know what you own or what's within you or what energies are happening within you, it's like doing a science experiment with a blindfold. And you've got acid sitting here and you've got distilled water and you've got lye, and you've got dangerous chemicals mixed in with all types of other stuff, and you're trying to do an experiment and combine things, and you're burning your hand and you're making a mess, and you've released chemicals in the air. You've done all this chaotic things because you don't see what you're doing. This is a part of the inner work. You need to look and see what's going on in the unconscious. You need to see what you're doing, and you also need to understand what you're working with. In order to really become an alchemist, you have to understand, what am I working with? What do I have here? So this is when those spiritual insights really have true value for you. And you don't necessarily need the external tools to confirm things for you that you already know. You have to keep consulting the user's manual throughout your whole process of the inner work that you need to do. It's very much going to come from an internal wisdom. Your insights are going to pour in that grant you this knowledge that is unique to you. So I wanted to share that. It's introducing, for some of you who are not familiar, alchemy and the way that you can use alchemy to transform your reality and transmute the energies happening within you. Sorry, I have children and they are active in the house. But yeah, so leave your thoughts and comments for those of you who are, familiar with this work and you've really gained some revelations about yourself, perhaps through these sciences, and just share what's changed for you. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut the video off here. Thank you guys for again tuning in, and be sure to like, comment, and share. And until next time, peace.